Let's go to Ted Cruz. Senator, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Glenn. You know, like Americans all across our country, I'm grieving. Last night was a horrifying display. And all of us simply watched in horror as police officers who risk their lives keeping us safe, who rush into dangerous situations, found themselves targeted for murder. And Heidi's and my prayers today are with the families of the 5 brave officers who lost their lives. Our prayers are with all 11 officers who were shot, and our prayers are very much with the community of Dallas that is mourning this horrific crime that played out. In my time in the Senate, I've had the opportunity to spend a great deal of time with police officers, and their sacrifice and bravery in the face of danger is part of the basic fabric that keeps our society together. And to see vicious murderers targeting them is horrific and really, really sad.
We were at a funeral of a police officer in Houston about 8 months ago, and it was indeed moving. Another innocent guy. The other side of this coin is, I think, Ted, we're seeing this, and part of it has been designed, I think. We're seeing people feeling powerless, and they feel like that justice is not being done. I could say that I felt that yesterday with Hillary Clinton. Where is justice? Where is the rule of law? How can somebody who is in power get away with this? And, when you see things like Minneapolis, and I'm not asking you to comment on this, and I'm not going to comment on it because I'm going to wait for due process. But it looked bad. How do we move forward and make sure that the bad cops are taken off the street, and at the same time calm and empower people that violence is not the way, but your voice is being heard?
Well, there is enormous frustration across the country on many, many fronts, and much of the frustration is justified. It's frustration with our system. It's frustration with corruption. With regard to the police shooting in Dallas last night, the murder of 5 police officers and the shooting of 11 officers, I think we need to wait for the facts to develop to learn exactly what happened and why. I think it would be a mistake for anyone to jump to conclusions until we understand their conflicting reports about how many shooters there were, about what their motivations were, and I think we need to allow time to understand what occurred. And I believe this morning what's most important is that we stand in solidarity with law enforcement, with police officers and firefighters and first responders who were targeted for murder. There are many in the African-American community who were protesting peacefully, as is their right to protest peacefully. Indeed, I'm in Washington this week because the Senate is in session, and we had protests here in Washington, and my girls were watching the protests and watching them live and asking about them, and we were talking to them about how the First Amendment of the Constitution protects everyone's right to speak out, everyone's right to peacefully assemble and to share their views. But, of course, nobody has a right to commit acts of violence. Nobody has a right to commit murder, which is what we saw in Dallas last night. And when it comes to condemning acts of violence, whether it is the targeted murder of police officers or whether it is just a few weeks ago a self-professed ISIS terrorist murdering 49 people and wounding another 50 in Orlando. Murder is wrong, and it should not be a partisan issue. It should be an issue that brings us together, united as Americans, and united as men and women and brothers and sisters that protect and stand up for each other.